keep striving for this religion that we preach. Keep pushing, for nothing's ever out of reach. Because the time we keep on driving, it's all that much we go. The time we keep on fighting, and these colors I wear will be sold through the skins of my soul.
Hello and welcome to an edition of the Luton Town International Podcast, which apparently we do have to record despite our awful start to the season. So we're going to start with some positives. We scored a good goal at QPR.
I actually want to start with the fact that I admire that you're a man of principle and you've got strong convictions, and you were trying your absolute fucking darndest not to record a podcast until we won a game. But
there's enough there's enough trolls all over the internet years without actually speaking to one like you.
But unfortunately, our midfield is not as strong as your principles. It's quite fucking weak.
What is that pink shit you're drinking?
Hard lemonade or something. It's early in the morning over here. Don't want to go too heavy too soon.
It's early in the morning. Were you
it's
6 hours behind?
8. Yeah. Technically, it's afternoon. You know, but want to start a little bit early. But yeah, you're a man of strong convictions and strong principles. But Jesus Christ, like, what was it? After Burnley, it was like no point talking about Burnley. Then you went on holiday, so that ruled out the other game. Good time to pick a fucking holiday, by the way. And then, what was it? Oh, then the QPR game. It was just like, Nick's doing this on purpose. If we had beaten QPR, I was going to start this podcast with we only record when we're winning. But
yeah, well, we thought we always start slowly.
Then we went and blew it. So we were like, obviously we were discussing this, not as friendly as we are right now, but we were discussing this. And yeah, you're right. We've always started slowly. Like, I think the first season we were in the conference, I think we won 6 of our first 13 games.
Well, in our first 5 games, we got 5 points, scored, I think, 2 goals or 3 goals. I put it up in a tweet somewhere on the line. And our main striker didn't score until 11 games in.
So, I mean, we've always started slowly, but I don't even think it's the starting slowly for me. It's the performances. You know, the performances have been decent to good at certain aspects of the game. But then there's other points of the game you just go, what's going on? Like, I pointed out to you during the QPR in the first half alone, there was 2 examples in the first half where QPR got the ball in midfield, and like QPR literally had a square of 4 players, and you had Clark and who was it, Batiste?
Yeah.
And it was just like, you're just being overrun. You got to change something. You know, you got to do something. And it just did not happen.
However, that QPR game itself, you know, when we got the goal, or they got the goal for us, because for some reason there's a magic force field that prevents us putting the bloody ball in the back of the net. It's the amount of chance we've had and the amount of lack of goals that's quite unbelievable how it's going on. And then it gets in mistakes the other end. But we scored there, and then up until we then gifted them a goal, bloody Irish defender again, it's where we went on top.
Look, I said this when we bought him to you. If he's a defender that can't get into the Irish international setup, he's not that fucking good. he can't possibly be.
Well, sometimes I pick the wrong players, and sometimes, yeah, if he can't get in your squad, then fuck me.
Yeah, it's just because he's just not that good. But yeah, I mean, it's one of these things where I don't think in any of the first 4 games we've looked out. Oh, you're making a lot of noise. Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
So in the first 4 games, I don't think we've looked completely overwhelmed apart from the Burnley game. I thought Portsmouth we could have possibly won until we went down to 10 men. like as you said, you want to start with positives. There's been positives in the games. Like we played some good football, but as you said, our strikers can't score right now, and you're kind of hoping that one or two of them were having teams look at them and are now over that, knowing that they're going to be here till at least January and get their shooting boots on.
Well, yeah, because teams won't be looking if they don't. But I think what it is, I mean, there's a couple of things. Saw a table for expected goals and for and against, and that table will put us fifth at the moment. Now, expected goals, I know they're not everyone's cup of tea. They do tend to even out to a certain extent throughout the season, but it's that's quite disproportionate. From 50
I mean, expected goals after 4 games is not necessarily something you want to look at. Expected goals over the course of a season.
I don't want to look at the league table after 4 games. So.
Expected goals over the course of a season normally, as you said, balances itself out, you know. So I'm sure we'll have some games where the expected goals will be low and we'll win it, you know, just because we score a telly banger or whatever it may be.
Where he'd need to play for that, wouldn't he?
He'd need to play for that. That's the other thing as well.
We'll call it a Nelson banger for now.
Nelson banger, yeah. What a goal that was, by the way, as well. Like, he took that really, really well.
Yeah, like, for really basically his second ever start, I think it was, and his first goal, that was superb.
Yeah, it was really, really well taken. And that's the thing, like, me and you, again, we haven't recorded since the season started, but we've talked about every single game, and, you know, we talked about after the Burnley game. Nelson wasn't at fault for that trashing. He performed quite decently, you know.
He performed quite decent with the ball. I think he was at fault for a couple of goals giving the ball away, but we had to start 3 teenagers making their debut. You're going to get a bit of inexperience, and Burnley hadn't sold everybody by that point.
To me, you're young, like playing in the midfield too. That's the problem right now. We need to get a third person in the center midfield just to shore things up. If you want to play 3 at the back, play 3 at the back. Just stick to an extra man in midfield and just make it a little bit harder for teams to break us down, because I think right now the ball's going through our midfield far too easily. Yeah, in every game, not just to QPR game, like Preston, although Preston played a lot of long balls as well. Preston, Portsmouth, Burnley, the ball just went through our midfield far too easy.
I mean, I think hopefully there is a solution coming to that.
Yeah, Nakama coming back, the German kid coming in. I mean, you would hope. But then you got to think, okay, so Nakamba comes into the team, who are you dropping out? And I know we haven't played well. I know, don't get me wrong. You could drop anyone right now. But who are you dropping to bring in Nakamba? Is it a straight swap, or are you dropping someone a little bit further up the pitch, like a Chong or an Eli or Carlton?
I mean, I think Chong's actually looked dangerous there. Eli or Morris, so are you dropping one of the 2 or are you dropping one of the 3 centre-backs? And I think it's a mixed match. I mean, I think the QPR Cup game, he played 4-4-2. I think
in the second half, in the second half, they definitely went 4-4-2. I think in the first half, Nelson was on the right-hand side. It was definitely 3 at the back, Nelson playing wing-back, but I think in the second half, it was definitely more of a 4-4-2 formation. And in all fairness, in the second half against QPR in the Cup, QPR never looked like breaking us down.
No. Penalties are a lottery anyway. So
penalties are a lottery. Our penalties weren't good.
Well, yeah, we missed 2, and there's
3.
Good. Fine, happens.
You know,
League Cup.
No one's like. Here's the thing: like, if we'd have lost that cup game and won 3 of our 4 league games, I don't think anyone would even look at the cup game. I don't think it'd even be on anyone's mind, but it's the fact that it's in there amongst such a bad start in the league.
Well, what annoys me actually on that one, saying the bad start, is then people are starting to actually then sort of say, 1 win in 24 or whatever, and they're calling last season to it. Last season in the Premier League, with injuries coming out of our asses, and people suddenly tagging it on. They weren't in the close season. It's just kind of, that's almost people looking for an excuse to moan, of which is far too much on social media at the moment. And it's people almost thinking, right, I want to try and get the views, so I want to try and get the interactions. So I'm going to moan like hell and actually throw this, and this in. Last season was last season. It doesn't matter. Because I said Premier League, injuries, etc., etc. So this season, yes, it's been a poor start result-wise. Not that poor performance-wise, but then people adding everything else to it. I mean, I saw someone saying, "Oh, Rob Edwards, should he go? Yes or no?" And it was an official-looking thing, profile. And then someone pointed out, created May 2023. So this is literally someone who created a Twitter profile when we got to the Premier League. He wasn't there in non-league, was he?
He could have been. He maybe just didn't have a Twitter account. I'm playing devil's advocate. He could have been, but he just didn't have a Twitter account. You know, he's
he created Twitter accounts of related Twitter accounts of
Timon.
Yeah.
That's what he's done. He's created a social media account. Timon. I get where you're coming from. It's one of these things where, like you mentioned a minute ago, XG, and I'm very, as much as I like using stats, I'm very much aware that stats can work both ways. It can, like as you said, it was in the Premier League. We did a ton of injuries. Stats doesn't take that into consideration. It just shows you 1 in 24. You know, just like XG goals, it doesn't take into consideration anything else. It just, you know, it doesn't take into account goals or whatever it may be. You know, it just shows you the XG. Like you can use stats to pretty much back up any argument you have, realistically.
I mean, use my own eyes for the stats. It's saying midfield overrun to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But I think the main problems have been twofold, and they're the fucking obvious ones. We've got some dozy defending at times, QPR Friday being a classic example, and we're not taking the chance we should be taking.
Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing, like, the injury problems you would hope are coming to an end back, so you're going to start getting a more, not even solid, but a more consistent backline. Mm-hmm. I'm sure Edwards has the three that he would like back there if he's going to continue playing the back three. I don't think he's had those three yet, all play together. I'm sure he has in his mind who it's going to be though. It still doesn't compensate for the bad defending, because when you're paying 10 million or 8 million or whatever it may be, plus add-ons, whatever, for a defender, you expect them to be able to deal with balls into the box.
I mean, he'd had a good game up until then, but I mean, it was just thinking, right, it's simple stuff, especially that ball bouncer, do not let it bounce, just head the fucker clear.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, like, as you said, he had a good game up until that point. I think he did all right. He did decently, you know. But it's one of them things where no one's going to remember anything before that point. It was like, do you remember the Bournemouth game? I'm sure you do. Remember the Bournemouth game from last year where we were 3-0 up and we lost 4-3? I remember specifically texting you at halftime saying Hashioko's had a decent game for someone playing out of position, because he was playing centre back instead of his normal right back or right wing back. And then the second half happened. And no one remembers the good first half he had in that game. They just remember the absolutely fucking terrible second half he had before getting hauled off, you know?
On the Bournemouth game, what I would say is Bournemouth do have a history of comebacks. So I'm thinking, okay, so we blew a 3-goal lead away. Compared to Everton at the weekend, that actually wasn't that bad.
that was a collapse of epic proportions. Consider it that you say ours wasn't that bad. It still was bad, but Everton's is so much worse because they did it within the space of 10 minutes.
Well, I think
ours was over the course of the second half. You know, 45 minutes. Their collapse came within 10 minutes. I think Bournemouth scored their first goal in the 86th minute, and by the 96th minute they were beaten. You know,
and Everton were home that game as well.
And Everton were at home. No, we were at home as well when we were in Kenilworth.
No, we were away.
Sure. Oh, we beat them at Kenilworth Road, 2-1. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but we're not okay football. We don't talk about the Premier League. Let's get back to Luton.
Look, I'm trying to avoid talking about half the shit we've seen this season. Though.
It's one of them things where you want to talk about it, but you don't want to talk about it. It's like It's like going to therapy, you know? Like, you know it's better to open up and talk to the therapist, but at the same point, you kind of don't want to.
Therapy? Is there something you want to tell me here, Gav?
You're my therapist.
Oh, for fuck's sake, you're fucked.
But, I mean, hopefully it gets back to the way we know Luton can play after the international break.
I think there's not been a great deal wrong about the way we've been playing. I mean, you look at I think there's the Preston and QPR game. It's like 37 chances created, 1 goal.
So I don't buy into that. There hasn't been much wrong. There's been problems defensively, midfield, and strikers. We've had a problem in every single
Okay.
area.
Overall, there hasn't been so much wrong in terms of the general play. It's just those key things like, right, Preston leaves someone unmarked on the edge of the area. QPR, okay, so McGuinness the first. Second, it was Alfred Doubters trying to mark two men at the back post. I saw someone blaming him. I think, how's it his fault if his teammates have left him to mark two people?
Yeah, and but there's a number of like little things that you look at. Like, I don't know whether it's just me watching the games or what, but Eli's looks slow. I don't know, like he hasn't looked the player we've seen before he got injured in the Premier League last season. Alfie's set pieces have been underwhelming.
They have been, but he has been getting forward well. He's been getting the crossing as well. I think we'll say that he's getting.
They're still our biggest threat. Yeah, they're still our biggest threat, no doubt about it. But they've been underwhelming compared to what we know he can do.
I mean, I saw a stat just before I came on. It was basically big chances missed. I don't see how many of these were actually big chances. But Eli has missed 7 big chances this season, apparently.
And he doesn't miss them last season. Like, he was one of the most prolific strikers in the Premier League when he played last season. He didn't play for the last half of the season. And I remember me and you talking about this. Like, if we had, like, of all the injuries we got last year, if we had Eli, I think we could have picked up a couple of more points.
Yeah.
Because just how hot he was. And that's the thing. Like, it's strikers, dude. Like, they're going to go through phases. You know, they're going
that's the other thing. I mean,
phases where nothing's going in for them. They're going to lose a bit of confidence.
I mean, I think it was I saw the person do that. I actually made the point beforehand, thinking, right, so is it concerning he's missing big chances? No. It'd be more concerning if he wasn't getting big chances, because Eli is a good enough striker. He will get over that sort of, poor run and finishing. If he wasn't creative, if he wasn't getting the chances, that's more of a worry. You can't miss chances you're not getting.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I'm in the exact same boat as you. I'd be more worried if he wasn't getting the chances at all. Of course, you want him to find his shooting boots. You want him to get confidence. That's a fucking given for any striker. But, like, Eli's looked slow. Morris, I said it again when we went down to 10 men against Portsmouth. He took off Morris. I felt he took off the wrong striker, and I stand by that. But the reason why I say that is because Morris, I'm not going to say his hold-up play is amazing, but when the ball comes up to him, he gets something. Whether it be he wins the ball in a battle or he wins a free kick, like, he gets something, to get us further up the pitch. I don't think Eli's as good as Morris when it comes to that. But Morris has been underwhelming as well this season. Like, he hasn't.
Yeah. I mean, the front two are not in great form at the moment. They're trying hard, but they're not the best form.
And that's why there's so much call for Joe Taylor. That's why
I was thinking, right, if you didn't bring that up, I would. So there's this big call for him, and then he missed a big chance at the end of the game as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he was on for 15 minutes, but I mean, obviously he was almost loaned out sort of on deadline day or just before, but then we didn't get a striker in, so it was so he's called back in. But there's this big call for a player who's had a good scoring record on loan last season at League 2 and League 1. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean he'll necessarily do it in the Championship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like, you're getting with Eli and Carlton. They're guaranteed to get you goals in the Championship. Like, they've proven that for Luton over the years. Like, they've
both got double kicks in the Premier League. That is not a bad striker to do that.
And then, like, I hear all this talk of Woodrow coming on in the cup game over Taylor. It's a cup game. Like, if you're seriously sitting there thinking to yourself, I'm probably going to need Taylor on Friday night, because Eli was struggling at the end of the game in the cup game. You're thinking to yourself, like, you're not going to bring on Taylor at that point. You might need him Friday night. You're not going to do that.
We're out of subs by that point.
And we're out of subs. But I mean, again, Colley's another player that you touched in the first podcast. Was it 1-3 or something like that?
Yeah.
Probably 1-4. Like, he's a decent striker at this level. Like, you're talking about someone like Joe Taylor who is at this moment unproven. Now, I get what people are going to turn around and say. You can't prove yourself if you're not given chances. And I get that. I do.
You really worried me at this point.
Why? Because I'm agreeing with you.
Yes, you're agreeing before I even said it.
But you're gonna like he's unproven at this level, but you're gonna get people who are gonna turn around and say, "Well, he can't prove himself unless he gets given chances," and that's true. But when you have two top strikers like Eli and Carlton, if you're Joe Taylor, it's one of two things. You either got to do what McAtee did and leave, because you're not getting in ahead of those two. You got to wait for your chance, whether it be injury or a sale of one of the players, and then when you get your chance, take it. You know, because at the end of the day, if Taylor comes in on Friday night against QPR and scores, he makes it really difficult for Edwards to drop him for the next game.
Yeah,
he makes it really difficult. And there's a 2-week break. It makes Edwards' decision really, really difficult going into the next game. You know, and if you like, you look at players who built a career off that. You know, coming off the bench and scoring big goals. You know, and a lot of them went on to be stars then, and they went on to earn a place in the team, and that's what Taylor's got to do right now. When he comes on for those 15, 20 minutes, he's got to make it count. And I understand that's difficult, you know, but he's got to make it count. He's got to make an impression to the point where Edwards says, you know what, I got to start this kid. You know,
the problem with Taylor as well is the way we play isn't necessarily set up for him. The way we play is get the ball wide, get crosses in. So when you've got two misfiring strikers, that really doesn't help. But Taylor's not the type of player that normally get on the end of crosses. He's more kind of running off the shoulder through balls, and we're not playing that way at the moment. So do you adapt your entire plan to sort of, try and fit him in the hope he then gets? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Like as you said, do you change the whole way you play in the hope that it fits him, and then the hope that he scores. And if he doesn't score, what do? Do you revert to the old way? Like, do you have to come up with something new? Like, me and you have talked about this, and I've said it. I've said it to wind you up a lot of the times, but I really think, and I know you don't agree with me with this. I think Edwards has pressure on him right now.
Only from the internet thing. I mean, I think we're 4 games in. People saying how many games. I'm reluctant to say right on this game, but I mean, generally, I think you do not judge a league table until get 10 games in. You certainly don't call for manager's head after 4 games. That's absolutely fucking insane.
No, yeah, you don't. But and what I say when I say pressure on him, like people act differently under pressure. Like I seen one of the things he talked about the QPR game. He said he had to have an honest chat with some of the players, which is good. He probably should have done that after the Burnley game, if I'm being totally honest. I know it was the first game of the season.
But that thing is, that start came out it came out today.
Mm-hmm.
On the day of the game, he said this on me, and I'm thinking, you didn't let the ball bounce over your head or leave someone unmarked. So he's come out after. So he's trying to protect his players initially. And all I can say is, thank God we've got the international break. Get a couple of players back and just work on some basics, because that is not a bad team we have there. We've just been sort of just mistakes both ends of the pitch.
You've got to cut out the mistakes on both ends. And I mean, I think I said to you at the beginning of the season, like, I wasn't buying this whole we're going to go up automatic promotion or we're going to be in the playoffs. I was thinking mid-table. I honestly was, because I knew we were going to lose players. And as much as I screamed and yelled about him last year, losing a player like Barkley and losing a player like Lakonga, especially when you don't have Nakamba back, it's a big loss in your midfield.
Like, well, yeah, I mean, obviously, let's actually go on to transfers here, because there's been some criticism on that. So, right, Barkley was always going to go, and he appears to be playing for Villa under 21 tonight, which is an interesting move.
That's his level now.
His level, well, he's going to be better than that. But I mean, it was you can understand he wasn't going to play in the Championship. That's absolutely fine. It's Champions League over Championship, that's fine. But then he might be thinking, what the hell have I done since they're playing the under 21s? But that's different. That's the Premier League for you. Lakonga was never our player.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't going to go back. Of the other players we lost, Osho, he's a bit of a loss, but we've got players coming back. We've signed someone else, and Osho wasn't in great shape when we signed him originally. So that's fine. I can live with that. It goes on. Ogbene, I'm thinking that's absolutely magnificent transfer business. £8 million for a player who can basically run very fast.
I know you're getting that because he's Irish, but I think there's more. Like, I think if Ipswich use him correctly, I think he can be a danger. Like, we've seen that last year in the
Oh
Premier
yeah,
League.
no, I mean, okay,
He
I
can,
was,
he
I
can
was
get
being
at
a
the
bit harsh,
defense.
but so when they play Liverpool, it'd be great because if like up against Trent, but it was
Yeah.
but £8 million. I think there's an Ipswich fan at work
It's,
goes, have you? He goes, are you mugging us off? I said yes.
yeah, I mean, the thing is that's the going rate for players right now. It seems to be is around that 8 to 10 million mark, 5 to 8, 10 million. So it wasn't that much of a shock that they were paying that much for Ogbene. I can understand them wanting to get back to the Premier League and try his hand again to see if if he can either get another move or perform for
And
Ipswich.
I've got absolutely no issue with that. I'm just thinking, right, £8 million
Yeah,
for a player we signed for
but
free last summer.
8
That
million,
is
8 million pound profit. I mean, you can't say no to that. Like the club have done the right thing there, and I'm sure the player wanted to move as well. So you've done the right thing there. The one that interests me more than anything of the transfers, and I don't even know if you can technically call it a transfer right now, is Andros Townsend, because he's a player that, while I don't think he would be a starter, is definitely a player you can bring on to influence a game, experience and different things. And he doesn't even seem to know who holds his rights on it right now.
I mean, this is the other thing. As far as I understand it, it's basically he signed for this Turkish club.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, he's their player, but they can't register him. So they've got a player they can't register. Now, there are rumours, because I think their owners are related or the same as the Sheffield United owners. There are rumours that he's going to loan to Sheffield United because they can't play him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, something's got to happen, right? Because you just kind of look at it and go. And I remember seeing something that was like, surely Luton can help him out here and realizing what's going on. Why? He's not our player anymore. Like we sold it. We let him go. Like, he's not our player anymore. Like, you signed a contract with them.
This was kind of a mutual decision. I can see it as well because he's not going to play that much and he wants to prolong his career. Absolutely fair enough. Got no issue with that whatsoever.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever. And like I said, he'd be a decent player to be able to bring in for his experience and stuff like that. But as you said, he's probably looking for more game time that Edwards can't necessarily give him right now. But that was the one transfer that's out there that's kind of I've been kind of like shaking my head at. Like some of the other transfers, like the McGuinness. So I'll ask you this question: do you think McGuinness is better than Osho?
They're different players, I think. McGuinness, I think, is more of a sort of aerial thing. Osho had a mistake in it. McGuinness, we've only seen him a couple of games.
Has a mistake in him.
He does have a mistake in him. I hope he'll learn from that. He's younger. I think he'll kick on. But Osho, apparently, he had two mistakes for the weekend.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Osho, from what I've seen, hasn't got off to the greatest of starts. But the reason why I asked you that is Osho, we did we get him on a free, or we paid very little for him if we did?
Oh, development fee, if anything.
Yeah. And obviously he left on a free as well. But to me, one of the problems that we had last year was we had a lot of defenders coming to the end, especially when we got injuries, that could play, that were decent, not great, but decent on the ball. But we'd no one to deal with aerial threats. And that's one thing that I've noticed in the games this season is against Burnley, we had no one that could deal with aerial threats whatsoever. Balls over the top.
We had two teenagers starting with back threes, to be fair.
Yeah.
But
even against Portsmouth and Preston and QPR, Portsmouth in particular, because Preston and QPR, we had McGuinness who was able to deal with most of the balls coming into the box. We didn't have anyone to deal with balls into the box. McGuinness will help us deal with that. The other one I've been interested in is Tom Holmes, because I don't think he's going to be a starter, but
no.
I was saying to my brother, like he was asking me about like how Luton were going on. I'm like, we're not doing well, but this Holmes kid really interests me because he reminds me a lot of Harry Maguire in that he's not very good. He doesn't look to be a very good footballer in any shape of the imagination, but he's not afraid to stick his head on the end of anything. Like if he maybe Harry Maguire is the recent comparison to him, but maybe Steve Foster. where he'll just like, you're putting your boot there, I don't care, I'll put my head there, and maybe that's what we need right now, just someone who's not like,
as long as you're someone that plays alongside them, I think that's the.
And that's the thing, like if you play him alongside, let's say someone like a Mengi who is decent on the ball, or a Bell who's really good on the ball, then maybe that, and that's what you're looking at right now in the McGuinness thing, is that McGuinness is kind of if you're going to pump long balls into the box, and we know we have to deal with them in the championship, McGuinness will take care of them. We want to play out from the back, Mengi and Bell can take care of them, take care of that aspect. And I understand where it's coming from, but Holmes is not a bad option to have at the back if McGuinness hits a stride where he's just not doing well and you need to bring in someone else. I mean, he'll stick his head on the fucking end of anything, it seems.
He'll stick his head in it. I mean, I think he's not even the sort of, first reserve at the moment in this offence, but it was, but he has played 100-odd championship games, so it's not like he's an experienced player. No,
he's not. And I think I touched on that in the last podcast. Like, he's not inexperienced at this level. He's played over 100 games. Like, it's not like throwing Walters and Johnson in there where it was literally their first games,
Yeah.
Like, at this level, it's like Holmes has experience of playing at this level. Or it was at a relegation candidate team in Reading, but he still has the experience.
But he's got 100 games. They weren't relegation
100
games.
No, they were mid-table the first season. I think he played most of his games there. They were mid-table in the championship.
Actually, just to mention Mengi, because transfer stuff we've not really covered as well. Mengi, obviously, you said Fabrizio, whatever his name is, sort of said he's going, therefore he's going. Obviously, he didn't go, but it was. But it's just kind of interesting how that was done, because they said, right, he's agreed personal terms, which he may well have done. When that become a thing, agreed personal terms of a player, then goes to the club. Oh, by the way, we'd like him on loan with £5 million. The club are going to think, it doesn't work like that.
So you see that a lot in this day and age, where Ornstein, Fabrizio, they all say the same thing. Like, this club's in for this player. The terms have been agreed with the player and his agent. So you're just waiting for PSG or whoever it is. For instance, the one I'm thinking of offhand is Ugarte for United, which just got done this week or just before the transfer window ended. But that's been going on since I was back home. So that's been going on for, nearly 2 months now, a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
That's been like, and that was under the presence that the player has agreed terms with United, but the two teams can't come to agreement on a fee. And I think that's what's happened there. Like, Fabrizio didn't put his usual "here we go" on it, which is what he always puts when the deal is done and it's about to be announced. But he put out that Torino are interested in taking Mengi, wages or whatever fee has been agreed with the player and his agent, and that just seems to be the way the teams work these days. And then obviously what's happened is Torino agreed a deal with Mengi and his agent saying, hey, this is how much we're going to pay you, this is your signing on fee, whatever. And the player and the agent said, yeah, that's grand, no problem. And then they've gone to Luton and gone, hey, we want him on loan. We're only willing to take him on loan for the season, and then we'll buy him at the end of the season for 2 million or whatever it was, 3 million, 5 million, whatever. And Luton have gone, fuck off. Like, no. Like,
that's the thing. I mean, surely I think the deal transfer supposed to be is you make an offer to the club, you get the offer agreed by the club, then you get to talk to the player. Otherwise, it's completely arse back face, and that's actually tapping up, and that's you're fine for that.
That it's just, and I agree with you. It is tapping up, but that just seems to be the way that the game has gone in this day and age, where you've agreed terms with the player, you're just waiting to agree terms with the team, and the team are like, Luton are like, if like, that'd be like someone turning around to you and Nick saying saying, hey, some other company saying, hey, we're gonna take Nick, we're gonna give him this wages, you saying yeah, and then your company just saying no, And I know it's not exactly the same, but
no, it's not.
This is the compensation we're gonna give that other team, And Luton are within their rights to turn around and say no at that point. And you're right, it is tapping up to a certain degree, but it never gets called out in this day and age. Like,
it's also stupidity. You're thinking, right, here's a player who's 15, 20 million.
Yeah.
Especially sort of, I think said, right, players Burnley gone for everything else. And he had a good season in the Premier League. So 15, 20 million, obviously Man United got the sell-on fee. So I think you're right. Fine, if it's a loan fee, I think I said. Mm-hmm. Yep, loan fee, that's fine. Call it £10 million loan fee. Then you can have 5 million, 6 million after. pay Man United 30% out of the 5-6 million. I don't know how that works. That's about the only way it's acceptable.
Yeah, and I mean, Luton are within the rights to turn around and tell Torino to fuck off, and rightfully so. Like, if you're going to agree terms with the player, and you really want that player, then once you agree terms with the player and his agent, you've then got to go to the club and give them a realistic offer.
Well, I think you've got to go to that club and find out what type of offer they're willing to accept.
Yeah, what their valuation of that player is, and then if you think it's a little bit high, bringing it down a little bit. But I mean, I think it came out that they signed another defender on transfer deadline day for like 2 million, and it seemed to be around that mark, 3-4 million that they were offering for Mengi, and you just kind of think maybe they have no money. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't have the money to go out and they were hoping that, you know, just because Luton got relegated, it's a championship team, so he can't possibly cost us that much. And then they're fully realizing that, no, the transfer market's fucking crazy right now. Like, you're going to have to offer us a lot more than what you're offering us.
Well, what they basically went, they went sort of looking around Lidl or trying to shop in Lidl for a player in Harrods.
Yeah. Great analogy, yeah. I mean, it was a silly offer. It was, you don't do that. Like,
if it wasn't just agents, but it's there seems
that's disrespectful to the club, because you have to know what a defender costs in this market right now. Like, if you're Torino, you have to know that Luton have just gone out and spent 10 million on a defender who has never played in the Premier League, and you're looking to buy a player who, as you said, was pretty decent in the Premier League last season for us, albeit we got relegated. You got to look at that and go, well, we probably should be starting the negotiations at somewhere around 10, 12.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's just disrespectful to the club.
And also, it's never going to work because he's under contract as well.
That's the other thing as well. I seen this pop up and I don't know, because the club never announced fucking any transfer information whatsoever.
Right.
But how long was this contract when he signed for United? Because I've heard loads of different things. I've heard it was 2 years. I've heard it was 3 years. I've heard it was 4 years. You know, if it's 2 years, Torino are sitting there going, we're going to offer you 2 million. You better take it, because in January we're going to negotiate with him and we're going to get him for nothing at the end of the season.
Right. Obviously, they don't announce it, but the way the club do stuff, I'd be shocked if it was just 2 years. I mean, I think we paid, undisclosed, but probably about $1 million to $2 million for him.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to pay that because some give a 2-year contract. You'd say maybe a 3-year contract with an option would be my guess.
Yeah. And that's my guess too. It's just, you know, as I said, seen a number of different things because the club don't announce anything.
Yeah, apparently everyone on Twitter knows what it is, which they don't because it goes all over.
Right. Although they did announce finally that the home shirts are in.
Well, yeah, we've had them for a year. I mean, the away white shirt, that's the decent one.
Finally, you've come around to my way of thinking. Yes. The away shirt is the best of the three, without a doubt. Yep.
That's a proper old school shirt, isn't it? So
it is. It's really, really nice. Really, really nice. I like it.
Right. So yeah. Okay. Mengi. It's odd. I mean, it disrupts things as well.
Yeah. That's really it's the worst thing about the transfer window not closing until a month into the season, is that you've got all this and you've got players' heads being turned, and they're not given they can't possibly be given 100%, because if you know that a team is in for you in the Premier League, you're not going to go into a 50-50 tackle or a 60-40 tackle. You're just not.
It's basically, it's not even necessarily that. It's basically your head isn't in the right place.
And that as well, you're not concentrating on what's hand. You're trying to think, especially if the team is not close by, or you're not moving to a team near where you are, where you can possibly stay where you are until you find somewhere closer. You know, you're thinking about, I gotta move uproot my family. I gotta move down. I gotta get a house. Am I going to stay in a hotel for the first couple of weeks or a month until I get somewhere? You know, what's the manager like? How am I gonna get on my new teammates? Am I gonna start? What do I have to do? Yeah. It's all this different stuff that comes. Yeah, a lot of this stuff comes in. It's just kind of you're sitting there kind of going, You can't possibly, your head can't possibly be in the game. It just can't, and that's a problem with the transfer window not closing till a month into the season. And I understand why it's that way. It's because the rest of Europe is that way. I get it, but it's not obviously ideal for any team.
I mean, obviously, we did have a deadline day signing. It's, I mean, there are a couple of things. Obviously, there was Joe Taylor, who apparently went up to Huddersfield for talk, and he got called back because we hadn't signed a replacement. Which
and Huddersfield's fans fucking lost it.
I know, that was hilarious. I'm thinking, it's not even your player.
That was funny.
He's out of the playoffs.
Yeah, that was funny. But yeah, I mean, I understand why people are upset with the timing of transfers, but at the end of the day, as long as those players are right, and it's got to be yet to be proven that those players are right, then you do your due diligence and you make sure you get the right players in. It seemed like the McGuinness thing took a while to get over the line, because that seemed to be from
about 2 weeks that was dragging for, I think.
Yeah, so. At the least 2 weeks. It could have been going on even longer than that. You know, obviously haggling over price and whatnot. But I mean, the one I'm looking forward to the most is the German midfielder Kraus. That's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be quite interested to see him play. I know absolutely nothing about him, so therefore I can't see the answer to problems because I've not seen him play.
Yeah. Honestly, all I've seen is little bits here and there on YouTube and stuff like that. But to me, he just seems like from the little clips I've seen, he seems like a no nonsense, get the ball out of your own half kind of player. He's like, the one thing I noticed, and this is going back to the QPR Cup game. The one thing I noticed about Nakamba is there was points where obviously we want to press the ball. That seems to be Edwards' thing. He wants to press the ball high up the pitch, win it back high up the pitch so we can get something going from there. At points, Nakamba was our highest player up the pitch pressing the QPR defenders. I don't necessarily think that's something that you want.
No, I mean, Nakamba, I think for half he played, he looked very, very good for players.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because, again, like, the QPR goal in the cup game was a bad goal to give away, but you kind of looked at it at the cup game and went, okay, Burke got 45 minutes, Nakamba got 45 minutes. Who am I missing? Someone else got time.
Yeah,
Anderson got 45 minutes. So you got out of it what you wanted to get out of it. I don't think Nakamba starts anytime soon, but probably within the next. Actually, yeah. Now that we've got the 2 week break, yeah, I agree. There is a very good chance that he starts right after the break. Just simply because we have that break. But I mean, he showed exactly what we've been lacking and missing in midfield. And even then, you still looked at it and you kind of went, we got a little bit overrun in midfield just because the numbers, we were outnumbered. You know, there was just, in both QPR games, there was just moments where we were outnumbered. And I've spoke openly on this podcast before that Chong is not someone you want playing in the centre of midfield. He's just
Chong's had a good start to the season.
He hasn't had a bad start to the season, and further up the pitch, I'm fine with him. Like, I'm totally okay with him. But when he starts dropping deep and becomes that third midfielder, he's too lightweight, dude. He gets pushed out the ball. It
depends who else is in there. I mean, for example, the other two midfielders are sort of, Kraus, who I've not seen play, in Nakamba. That's a fairly solid, in theory, on paper, not seen play.
Here's something I want to bring up. Like, I've seen a lot of people talk, because obviously with us losing, or I'm not losing, but not winning in our first 4 games, there's a lot of talk about what formation should we play, who should we play, what players should we play where. And the one player I've seen a total lack of respect for is Jordan Clark, who was by far our best player against Portsmouth. He created everything that was going forward. It came through him.
Do you know the basic rules for our best formation and the best player?
Don't talk about it.
No. The basic rule for a best formation or best player is always a player who isn't starting.
Who isn't starting?
Yeah.
Oh, so then Clark's
these are the rules of social media.
Gotcha. So Clark's obviously starting. But I sent this to you before. Like, if we want to stay with the 3-4-3, technically 5-3-2, depending on what way you want to look at it, Clark's ideal to be in that. If you're going 3-4-3, Clark is ideal to be in that position behind Adebayo and Morris, to me.
Well, to me, you've got two choices. If you're tweaking information, you either take out a centre back, or you take out one of the main strikers.
So
now,
I don't think he's going to change formation, and that's why I said this. Like, it changes the formation slightly, but it also it doesn't change it that much that it's like a complete overhaul. You keep your three at the back. You have Doughty on the left, Walters on the right, Nakamba and Kraus in the middle, or Baptiste, whichever one you want to go with. Then you have Clark right behind Adebayo and Morris. It's technically the same formation. It's just that Morris is not playing more on a wing kind of thing. You're looking at him more through the center, and then Clark right behind. Like, I think that's our best formation.
If you are changing it and going forward at the back, then you put Bell left wing back and you put Doughty left midfield.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I thought of. If you're going to go forward to back, play Bell left back and play Doughty further forward. Because here's the thing: if you're going to go forward to back, there is no point in hell of playing Doughty left back. There's not. Like, he's our biggest threat with getting crosses and getting balls into the box. And as we talked about earlier on, it hasn't been great this season, but he's still our biggest threat.
And also, I mean, if you are doing the 4-4-2, I think it's like if you remember sort of the unbeatable season, we had basically on the left we had Underwood, who was a left back, stroke left winger, and we had Sol, and they'd just be sort of overlapping each other all the time.
Yeah, and that would be ideal because Bell's a really good left back. He's a really Bell's one of them players that I don't know if I've said it on the podcast before, but he's a solid 7 out of 10 every game.
Mm-hmm.
And there's games where he's better than that, but in every game you can at least guarantee he's going to be a solid 7.
Anyway, right. So now got the international break where Ireland will presumably lose a game. England will probably struggle to draw. Actually, are we playing you lot or not?
You're playing, so that's going to be difficult to do. If we're going to lose and you guys are going to draw, that's going to be a problem because you're playing us. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, and I put this to a number of people last year when we were playing their teams in the Premier League. Top teams. Mm. If you guys don't beat us by 3 or 4 goals, what are you doing? Like, realistically, what are you doing? Like, we're beyond per. Beyond per. So if you guys don't go out there and win 3, 4, 5-0, is it really?
I love your spin on this. It's thinking, right, if we don't win 3, 4, 5-0 in a friendly, is it a friendly?
No, it's Nations League.
Oh, okay, it's a glorified friendly. With a new manager and everything else, and thing, it won't be. I don't give a shit about the Nations League, apart from the fact I'm going to wind you up when we beat you. If we beat you.
You can try wind me up all you want, but if you don't win by at least 3 goals, is it really a win? Like, look, if England don't come out at winning by more than 3 goals, then the points should just be given to Ireland, because it's an absolute disgrace on your part. It's a complete disgrace on your part. With the players you guys have at your disposal, up against our godforsaken fucking team, if you guys don't win by 3 or 4, like. So UEFA should just turn around and go, you know what, lads, we're giving the points to Ireland because that was unacceptable.
You accused me of being Mr. PR. You basically just said, right, you're that bad. If it's not at least 3-0, it's win. Doesn't quite work. Pretty much.
Although I will say the manager we've got in place now beat you guys when he had Iceland. So maybe. I'll be honest with you. If it's a draw, I'll be fucking ecstatic.
It will be a draw. It'll be a 1-1 draw. It's just standard with Ireland.
I'll be absolutely fucking ecstatic. But as I said, like, if England run out 3, 4, 5-0 winners, it would not surprise me at all.
I'll be honest, I probably won't even bother watching it.
I won't watch it because I'm in work, but I'm sure I'll be updated on it from my football-loving manager, who will take great pride in the fact that England are beating Ireland. I pretty much work for you.
Yeah, get back to work.
Right? But yeah, it like non-Luton related, but if England don't win by 3 or 4 goals, then maybe have.
What I love is the fact you're trying to put pressure on me, whereas I've already said It's a friendly. I don't give a shit.
It's not a friendly. It's a Nations League game. It's a glorified friendly. You
Okay,
gotta put the word glorified in front of it because it's technically not a friendly. And realistically, the Nations League is probably our best chance to qualify for fucking anything.
Okay, yeah. The Nations League is actually probably useful competition for those who wouldn't normally qualify for competitions.
Yeah, because the bigger teams aren't taking it serious. They're seeing it, as you said, glorified friendlies. So teams like us can actually take advantage of it and qualify for fucking something.
Yeah, because I mean, I imagine you've got a new manager who's completely untested.
Untested? I wouldn't say that. He was Iceland manager when they beat England.
No, so we've got a new manager who's completely untested.
Oh, you've got a new manager.
Yeah. We've got the under-21 coach who'll probably think, we'll try a few things, just see if I can put.
And he's like, I understand Bellingham's injured, right? But
I've got no idea.
I think Bellingham's injured because he's not in the squad. He's definitely picked.
You're paying more attention than I am.
He's definitely picked a weird squad. Honestly, I'm really not. But what happened was the squad, it popped up on my timeline for some reason. Lee Carsey's first England squad. And like I was like, oh, they're playing Ireland. So I clicked into to see what it was. And it did catch me off guard with some of the names that were in there, like Angel Gomes.
Who?
Exactly. Like I know who he is. He was a product of the United Academy who left a couple of years ago and went, and before you say, don't even start with the United jokes, but he left a couple of years ago and went to Lille, I think it was, or somewhere in France, and he's been playing in France, but he's been picked for the squad. But
I love the fact you have this much knowledge on an England player for Man United,
right.
ex-Man United.
Right. It's crazy. My knowledge is just out of this world. But yeah, like that was the one name that jumped off the sheet. Me, there was someone else as well, and I can't remember who. But the biggest omission was Bellingham. I was kind of like, he has to be leaving Bellingham out because he's injured or something. And then obviously he hasn't started for Real Madrid, so he's obviously picked up something, and he just like, there's no point risking.
I can't believe this has just turned into the Luton Town International Friendly, glorified friendly. Let's not lose 3-0 podcast.
Honestly, like if we keep the score down, it's a win. Like it's a win. It's gotta
and with that, I think we're going to wrap it up because that's just.
It's like Luton in the Premier League last year, dude. As long as we keep the score down, it's a win.
Okay. Right. So apparently I'm Gav's therapist. I think Gav needs his medication. So if you're still watching, why? See you later.